Hey Panda,
Eh,
quick mic test. You sound good? Yeah, you sound great. Okay.
can't hear the flossing.
Nope, can't hear the flossing, but all of our wonderful listeners can imagine it.
I would hope so. All of y'all need to floss your teeth.
Welcome to Panda's Flossing ASMR. Okay, no, don't actually do it.
What do you think? What do you think I was gonna do?
You were leaning in close.
I can lean in a little closer. I don't think the mic caught that. Huh?
Yeah, I'm glad I set the filters so that we can't catch any of that. Any of those noises that you're making.
But the floss is catching everything that went in my teeth.
And that's good for you. Remember to floss, kids.
Or I will personally sick a bug on you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm kidding. No, for real. What did they say? What did they say to us? They're like, oh, it's kind of gross. And I'm just like, I love it. And then if you stop eating your dinner starts eating you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. All right. So, where were we in the last chapter? We just finished
we
up.
went over the cauldron and Alexandria stuff.
Oh yeah, that was the Alexandria chapter. Yeah. Anything you wanted to add to that, or?
No, everybody was arguing about the whole Batman Tinker stuff in the comments instead of a lot of the other, I feel like, more interesting things we could have been talking about. Look, I guess the reason I don't like the whole Batman as a Tinker thing is just because, I don't know. Me personally, I just feel like it diminishes, I guess, the whole thing is like, oh, well, his intelligence is a superpower. That's like, I feel like it kind of like, it's a little bit reductive. Like, if any of you see Naruto, what makes Rock Lee cool is that he has no superpowers. Rock Lee does not have the ability to do certain things the way the other ninjas do. No, he got where he is by being an extremely hard worker and like just, pushing himself. So I don't know. I feel like a person who has actual like characters like this trope where the character has no actual like superpowers and no abilities, but they can elevate themselves to the rank of the people who do have those. I just think that's really freaking cool. So that's my personal reason for preferring Batman to not actually be a tinker, for it to not be a superpower, because it just, again, to me, it feels a little reductive.
Okay.
But that's me. Anyway, I don't really think I have anything else to say on the whole thing.
Okay. I mean, there was talk about like themes of the divide between hero and villain, of what good and bad is, and like the differences between monsters and people, right?
Again, I feel like the difference is what kind of a badge you've affixed to your own chest, and that sort of thing. Also, history. History is important here because, like, if you think about the civil rights protests, right? People were really upset at those back in the day. But hey, it turns out siding with increased civil rights is the correct side of history. So history and context will also matter, whether or not you were the good guy or the bad guy. So, in the very end of it, like, oh, was Taylor a good guy or a bad guy? That's really going to depend on who wrote the story. And here, again, Walbo's the one writing the story, and this is all from a, like, I guess, pro-parahuman stance. Because all of the characters, a lot of the sympathized characters are parahumans. I understand that, it's part of the story, but sometimes, how do I put it? Sometimes it's interesting. Like, I saw this one tweet exercise where somebody was like, hey, tweet as if you're one of the NPCs or the side characters from this one anime universe. And people had crazy things just like, well, another building blew up today. I guess it's just another Tuesday. It's just, I find that to be a very interesting exercise. Like normies living in superhero society. We don't really get to see the normies side of it.
Ooh, Ward does cover a little bit of that.
Okay.
But not really. It's still from the perspective of a parahuman.
And I'm going to argue that that's the perspective of privilege here.
Yeah.
Because the normies don't have superhuman powers.
Exactly. Yeah. But Batman's still a tinker. Okay. I'll drop the subject.
Agree to disagree with this one.
Look, the way I see it, Arms Master is basically the Batman character in this story.
How dare you?
How
dare you sully the name? Nubmaster is a piece of shit.
and Batman's any better?
Batman's better. Look, would Batman come to your kid's school and be like, remember that thing I said at the very beginning where, like, Arms Master was like, having Arms Master shoot down Taylor is basically having a firefighter come to your school when you're 5, and you're like, in that little 5-year-old, like, I want to be a firefighter when I grow up, and the firefighter goes, you're too chunky.
Okay.
It's that, remember?
Fair.
Batman wouldn't do that. We have to agree on that one. He wouldn't do that. Bruce Wayne would never.
All right, Colony 15.8. You ready?
Oh, Colony now, huh?
It's been Colony for the past 7 arc chapters. I just haven't said it out loud.
Oh, okay, there you go.
Yeah, Colony. We last left off with Taylor talking with Perion and basically coming to some sort of an agreement, right? So we start this chapter with Taylor calling Coil immediately. She says, I know you wanted me to use Miss Cranston instead of calling you, but this is sort of important.
Who's Miss Cranston?
Her point of contact with Coil. I don't think you, quote unquote, met her because I glossed over it all. Yeah.
Don't worry about it.
So it's unimportant. So she says, okay, I've talked with Perion, and we've come to a tentative agreement, but I think she'd join our alliance. He says, I see. What are her terms? She holds territory, she'll defend it against all comers, but she's not going to do jobs or do anything criminal. As far as anyone else is concerned, she's not a part of our takeover. The implication being that we're too weak to deal with her. That wasn't exactly what I had in mind. It's the conclusion others will come to.
Is that your Coil voice?
I don't think that's the Coil voice I used before, but it is now.
Okay, I'm just checking.
Yeah, I think it's deeper than it should be.
How low can you go? I'm getting.
Hey. So yeah, Taylor is a little irritated by this because, well, she worked really hard to get Perion on her side in the first place, right? Also, she's also anxious because Coil is gonna assassinate her later today. But yeah, she's just gonna be angry at him.
It's very, like, it's just, I don't know. When's Taylor not angry?
She's angry at a lot of things, that's true.
Yeah, I'm just like, when's she not angry? I'm losing track.
Like, the Slaughterhouse 9 arc definitely didn't put her into a good frame of mind, and that was over the course of, what, 1 or 2 weeks? So yeah, she's been pretty angry.
Wow, just a week. It feels like it's a lot longer.
Right? Yeah, everything goes by so fast.
I was gonna say slow, actually.
I mean, the story feels like it takes a long time, but in actuality, in terms of real world time, it goes by really fast.
I mean, that's fair. It took me like almost a year to write my final arc, which actually took place over the course of about a week.
Yeah, right? I'm sure compromise. Will you talk to her? I will not risk revealing my identity. No, Coil said. But, he continued, I will speak to her through a liaison. Thank you. Though this could have been done more smoothly, I do appreciate your hard work. This for my would-be murderer.
This, who's from Taylor said that?
Taylor thought this to herself.
Sorry,
Yeah.
you said it in the Coil voice. Like I just.
Yeah. I'm not on my voice acting game right now, okay?
That's okay. Not all of us can be Anya.
Yeah. And then Taylor also is concerned about Ballistic. She's basically like, oh, Ballistic might be upset if he realizes I went behind his back to do this. So can you keep it on the down low, right?
He's not gonna keep it on the down low.
He's just like, okay, I'll be discreet. And then he reminds Taylor that Trickster is leaving for the mission to convince the mayor later today, right? And to contact him. And Taylor is, of course, reluctant about that because she's gonna be killed if she goes on this mission, right?
Right, that's fair.
Yeah. But she hangs up and then she talks to Perion and basically says, all right, somebody will be in touch. You should talk to Flechette and decide where you stand before then. And then she basically rushes her off, right? I'm flying a phone to you. It'll be in your hands before you're out of my territory. Someone will use it to call you before the end of the day. This is you subtly telling me to leave? I'm in the middle of something, yes. Thank you for hearing me out. It was the least I could do. after the help you've offered my friends and family. Whatever you decide, take care of yourself, Perian. You too. I scattered the swarm, then paused to think. Alright, so what comes next?
So what's the main idea in this arc? Like, or in this chapter? What are we
In this
reacting to?
chapter,
Why are we reading this one?
well, it's going to be a setup for the attack on the mayor, which actually goes.
Is that necessary? The setup?
It's not just the setup.
No
Let me look
offense.
at
It's
this.
just a boat takes forever to like set anything
No.
up, and by the time he's done, I usually forget what the whole problem was.
It's not even the setup. The attack on the mayor starts here.
Do we need the setup?
I can skip ahead.
If that's okay.
Yeah.
I'm actually thinking we don't need the setup at all.
All right. So she's paranoid. I think the important part is that she's very paranoid about Coil, and she takes a lot of time preparing for this, right?
Okay.
She also wonders to herself what's going to happen to her territory if she dies, what's going to happen to her dad, and then decides, okay, well, if I do die, people could be taken care of. And she decides to go and continue to do things for Dina. So she meets up with Perian. Sorry, not Perian. She meets up with Trickster and Genesis near the mayor's house, right? And she's paranoid enough that what she does is using this the security cameras and the microphones and the all of the surveillance equipment she had before. She forms like a ton of clones of herself and Atlas, like stationed all across like the area. And then she sends one of her clones to go talk to Trickster and Genesis. Right?
Okay.
Redundancies. It didn't feel like enough, is what she thinks to herself.
Redundancies.
Yeah. Genesis is in a form of a ghostly woman wreathed with chains. I don't know if you find that cool.
That's pretty cool. Why
Yeah.
is she doing that?
Remember Genesis is able to create projections?
Right.
So like different projections will have different powers suited for different situations.
Right.
Yeah. So she looks like a ghostly woman wreathed with chains, smoky wispy hair, and fingers with talons.
Because
She simply floated as though she were as light as air.
is she just trying to be creepy?
I think it's her. I think it's like a flying, like probably speed. I actually don't know the answer to this. Like, but my assumption is that being able to fly is useful, and having talons is her way of fighting. Right.
Okay.
So being able to fly and like it's probably a mobile form that can move around quickly.
I see.
And it's also creepy looking, probably.
Okay.
Yeah. So Trickster points to a piece of property. And it's a really, really nice house. Chain link, no barbed wire. He had dogs. And Taylor knows this from the flies that were clustered on the feces in the backyard. Yeah.
Why is that funny?
Because it's funny. That's why I mentioned it. There's not too many bugs in the house because it's well insulated. And then she does some reconnaissance and like gathers bugs around, right? And does a head count. So she asks, "Are there any guards?" And Trickster says, "Well, there's police in the police in the area."
So they're just breaking into the mayor's house right now?
Yeah.
Okay, so there's dogs and stuff, okay?
Yeah. So
there's
I'm going to
dogs
say this
So
because
there's dogs and shit, quite literally.
yes, there's dogs and shit, literal shit.
Okay, go on.
There's police nearby because they're expecting trouble. But the mayor is definitely here in his house because he never misses meals with his family. He's only missed 3 meals in 20 years because he was out of town. Otherwise, he's always with his family for dinner. So Taylor, sends out bugs and does a head count of the people inside the house, counting the number of shoes under the table. And she says, there's 4 adults. I think 2 male, 2 female, judging by the footwear, and 2 younger girls, going by their size. And Trickster says, yep, he has a son and 2 twin daughters. So that should be about right. Right?
Okay.
And then
What are they so they went to go convince the mayor?
they're going to quote unquote convince the mayor to not condemn the city.
Right.
Okay? So the plan is to attack the family because it'll scare them. And Taylor kind of doesn't like that.
Well, yeah, because she's a goody goody in creep's clothing.
Mm-hmm. But Trickster kind of convinces Taylor, okay. When I was talking to Coyle about what Tattletale said about the schedule, he suggested it, unless you want to go against him. So Taylor kind of doesn't find like the reason for backing out here.
Mm-hmm.
And also wonders, oh, is Trickster supposed to be the one who kills me? Right? Because he could throw a grenade next to me and kill me that way.
Mm.
And so she's paranoid again.
Right. So this whole chapter is just Taylor being paranoid.
For the first half, for sure.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And
then Genesis basically is just like, all right, is everyone ready? I'm going then. And then she floats over the edge of the hill. Trickster, of course, is a little hostile. He questions Taylor a little bit. And when Taylor asks him, why are you a little more hostile? He's just like, well, I mean, you kind of stepped on Ballistic's toes. He's sort of a friend, right? And she thinks to herself, not the way he tells it. Anyway, she gathers a swarm of bugs, and Genesis crashes through the window, followed shortly after by Taylor's swarm, and they spread all over the house, right?
mm-hmm.
They turn to run naturally, but she cuts them off with a swarm of flies, dragonflies, moths, roaches, beetles, and she could feel all of them backing away.
Mm-hmm.
Trickster says, okay, the police are in the way. Gonna swap them with us the second they get to the house. Warning you in advance so we can look confident. And Taylor says, damn, that's not gonna work. Because right now, the person who's talking to Trickster is a clone swarm of flies. Right? So he's like, okay, well, now I've lost sight of the cops. So you deal with, so Taylor offers to deal with them instead. Skip. Okay, so they managed to deal with the cops more or less, right? And they have the mayor's family trapped. She kind of reflects on the mayor and on his wife. I'm going to kind of gloss over that. And then there were also two.
So they came over to rough up the mayor, and the police just left them alone.
The police didn't leave them alone, but Trickster went to deal with them, basically.
Which means,
yeah,
like, is that what it means?
I don't think they were gonna kill the cops. Trickster generally doesn't kill, I think.
Right.
But he probably did like use his teleporting powers to send the cops away.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then rather
Why
than
are there even cops in this world?
Well, cops still have to deal with non-powered criminals, I'm sure.
I guess that's true.
And it's not like cops are a new thing. Cops have been around for like, decades.
Right. And of course the PRT is the one that deals with like
superpowered people in the Protectorate, yeah. So yeah, there's the mayor, he's 50 or 60. The woman next to him is his wife.
Once again, I'm sorry, is this important?
No, so that's why I'm glossing over it and summarizing it. There's two young adults, a guy who looks seriously well-built, and then a statuesque girl.
Statuesque girl, so Taylor was checking this girl out.
I guess so, but using her bugs to check him out.
It still counts.
Yeah.
Still counts.
So she kind of describes the vibe as an athlete and his cheerleader girlfriend, rather than a brother and sister.
Projecting.
Genesis and I stood on the other side of the dining room table. What do you want? He asked. A conversation, Trickster spoke. So Trickster basically tries to say, hey, we hear you're going to Washington tomorrow. and we want you to not condemn the city, right? There's a little bit of banter about like, you pay taxes? The son asked, because Trickster called himself a constituent. And
he pays his dues. Get it?
Yep. And yeah, Trickster basically says it would be excellent if the city kept going. And we're just keeping the peace, doing a better job than your local heroes. And the mayor
Shots fired.
And the mayor's just like, if you have a liberal interpretation of peace, maybe, the mayor said. And like throughout this entire conversation, Taylor starts to get a sense of something's wrong here.
Mm-hmm.
Right? The mayor's like bantering with Trickster. Like the way everyone is standing is not scared. They're like tense, but they're like definitely not like.
So this is where the murder
worried.
attempt comes in? Uh-huh.
This is where the
Murder attempt comes in?
No, not yet. But she does do something to the son's phone. She basically hooks a bunch of wires to it as he's trying to call somebody, and she yanks the phone away, right? And like, finally Taylor thinks about it. It's just like, they aren't scared. Why is that? And then she finally realizes why.
Which is?
And so she tries to warn Trickster by writing a bunch of words on the wall behind him. But Trickster doesn't see the words. And so what Trickster does is, because the mayor's not complying, Trickster teleports next to one of the twin daughters, grabs her to hold her as a hostage. And at that moment, it's revealed that the son and his girlfriend are capes. They have superpowers.
Huh.
Yeah. So the words that are written above Trickster is triumph.
Triumph?
Yep. Triumph written on the wall with bugs with a triangle and beneath, pointing at his head. Above his girlfriend were the words Prism or Ursa.
Huh?
So, Triumph, if you remember, is one of the members of the Protectorate who recently graduated from the wards. Prism and Ursa are visitors from New York.
Prism and Ursa.
Yeah. So Taylor's not sure which of them they are, which of them she is, but she basically says Triumph. This guy can only be Triumph if he has powers, because of the way he's built. He's not shaped like Clockblocker. He's not shaped like Gallant. Well, Gallant's dead. Sorry.
Oops.
Yeah.
Pour one out.
He's not shaped like who else is alive? Armsmaster or any of the other guys that Taylor recognizes. And then the girl, it has to be a visitor from out of state, because she wasn't shaped like any of the people Taylor knew either, right? And that's when Triumph uses his powers. So here's what Triumph's powers are. He has enhanced physical prowess, right? Which is nice, but mainly what he has is the ability to shout and manipulate like the air.
I learned recently that shouting in Australia means treating someone else to a meal. Like, I'll shout dinner.
Oh, that's cool. I didn't know that.
I think I learned that because of a YouTube video. It might have been Ann Reardon.
So yeah, Triumph shouts, and his sister was untouched, but Trickster was sent flying into the wall hard enough that he was half buried in the drywall.
Wait, so his whole power is being noisy?
It's not just being noisy enough to blow, being noisy and being able to control it well enough to knock people back. Like, he has enough power, control over his power that, he can do a lot of stuff with his shouts.
Got it. So he's well, how do I put it? I feel like I could have a version of this power. Yeah. I'm noisy enough. But we all know I would be a villain.
So you would be a noisy villain. That's fine.
I would totally be a villain.
Yeah. So, the little sister gets out of the way, and Triumph throws a table into Trickster.
Okay.
Yeah. And Trickster went limp, his upper body flopping over the table. Then Triumph quickly shouts again, slamming Genesis into a wall. And then a third bellow annihilated my swarm clone, and he turned to start eradicating my spread out bugs, while his family ran down the hallway, led by the superheroine. So Taylor is just like, well, fuck, I'm not inside the house. I can't help them in any way, right?
Mm-hmm.
So she starts running for it to get to the house to help Trickster, and to complete the mission if possible, right?
Okay.
Yep. I could only pray I wasn't exposing myself to whatever assassination ploy Coil had in mind. Or worse, that I wasn't doing exactly what he wanted me to do. And
Go on.
And so, yeah, that's the end of the chapter.
I'm starting to wonder if Taylor's getting assassinated at all, or if this is one of those, like, so you thought that I thought that you thought kind of things, you know? You know what I'm talking about?
Do you remember what I told you during our big worm spoiler session?
Which thing?
Which thing?
Specifically?
That Coil's assassination ultimately... You don't remember?
I feel like I remember that it's not what you... It's like the SNL thing where it's like, oh, what was it's an assassination. It's not what you think. That's all I remember.
Yeah, basically. Coil apparently never intended to assassinate her. So Taylor's being super paranoid this whole time.
Okay.
I mean, but for good reason.
Okay.
Let's actually pause for a second to talk about Coil's assassination attempt.
Is he actually trying to assassinate her? So that's no, right?
Do you remember how Coil's power works?
He looks into the future and he collapses the one he doesn't like.
Exactly, right? Here's what I think. I think Taylor is justifiably paranoid, and that Coil probably, like, attempted to
kill her in some universe or another.
He probably attempted to send out orders to kill her in one universe, and then
it didn't work. And
then because it didn't work, or because he was doing a few other things and he didn't like the outcome of that universe, he ended up not using that universe in the first place, right?
Can you imagine being so paranoid that they give up trying to kill you?
Right.
Sorry.
Because like Taylor set up like a bunch of these swarm clones. She refused to go into the house itself, right? Imagine if Coil had sent an assassin for her right at this moment.
Yeah, I think in this, in the business, we like to call this more trouble than it's worth.
Yeah, exactly, right?
I'm sorry, you guys, I'm sure you guys have seen Mean Girls. Like, it's some kind of a cultural phenomenon now. I'm just imagining Coil, like, on the line with his other selves, like in that Mean Girl call, and then it's just, and then like him looking at Taylor, like, oh my god, she's so annoying. Who's this? Hold, please. Oh my god, she's so annoying. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, that scene.
Like, this is just how I'm picturing Coil now. It's like,
yeah.
Who's this? Hold, please.
Yeah, I'm actually wondering if maybe Coil didn't assassinate Taylor, for two reasons. One, sending assassins like after her at the mayor's house would have been more trouble than it's worth. And
logistic nightmare.
And two, spoiler alert, which you don't care about.
Did I ever care?
Taylor is actually successful in intimidating the mayor, right? Which is a pretty good outcome for Coil. So maybe he wanted to keep this timeline.
There's something really funny about that. Like, it is actually pretty funny when you think about it. Like, fine, okay, like,
I'll keep you around because you succeeded. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, that is the chapter.
Cool.
Wrapped up in 30 minutes, which is time you were aiming for.
Sounds
right?
good, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know what to... All right.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. Next time, we will cover the rest of the attack on the mayor and the fight against Triumph and his girlfriend.
Attack on Mayor. Do 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 do. Sorry.
Da, 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 da.
Attack on Mayor.
Yeah. All right.
Someone's getting recalled.
Oh boy.
Recall elections. I don't think they don't. Do they do that for mayors?
They do that for mayors, but it's moot point here because the mayoral elections are happening in a few weeks.
Oh, well.
So Coyle has another candidate prepared.
Of course he does.
Yep.
Yeah, if I had Coyle's power, I would never work again. I would just, do what he did, invest in stocks and make myself filthy fucking rich, and then I would just go full hedonist, use the power to just go down every timeline and be like, I'm gonna go on vacation here, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that, I'm gonna get all the discounts.
Would be nice, yeah.
More money. I want to go on vacation. Let's go to Fiji.
Yeah. Well, you have to remember, according to Alexandria and to Dr. Mother, Coyle is the last resort, like their last hope for stopping the end of the world.
Yeah. But I'm saying if you have this amazing power, you can stop the end of the world. That's one thing, and it's coming later. In the meantime, think about all that time you have to goof off first. Can you believe I was actually a good student?
I believe it.
Yeah, look, this is me at 33 doing the desk flip and be like, fuck everything, it doesn't matter, did it?
All right.
I'm sleepy.
Yeah, okay. Well, I think we'll just call it a night here.
Are you sure? I'm going to bed. I'm tired.
All right. Good night, everyone. Thanks for watching.
Watching?
Listening. Whatever.